I just have to tell you all about the latest indie game I got early access to called Pipistrello and the Cursed Yoyo. It's out in full on May 28th for PlayStation, Xbox, and of course Nintendo Switch, and not just because it better be considering how much like a classic Zelda it is in both look and gameplay, even though it very much puts a unique spin on the entire thing, and not just because you're using a yo-yo that literally spins. So I want to share my 11 key takeaways I took away from playing hours of this game so far, including 8 positive ones and 3 small concerns I have that can hopefully be ironed out for the final release. So let's get to the positives. And number 1 is a wonderful pixel art style, which really evokes that classic 16-bit era, and most specifically the Zelda games, or even Earthbound to a degree, which I'll get to more in a second. And I just love how that looks. It's animated well, the character sprites are big and have that good punchy feel to them, especially when you're punching people in the face with your yo-yo. And it just looks great. Good animation, really chunky look, I love it. Looks amazing and I can't get enough of it. Number 2 is a classic style Zelda gameplay, which really nails it in terms of the gameplay feel of like using a weapon to battle enemies, or even exploring a giant labyrinth world, and how puzzles are interspersed all throughout it, and they keep finding new ways of making me think about the environment and my moveset to solve a puzzle. And of course, I'm only a few hours in, because there's much more to the game that I don't have access to right now, and I can't wait to see how it all comes together. You even look for collectibles like heart containers, essentially, in which you have to find 8 of them to expand your life. And I have not completed one of them yet, so there is a lot to find, a lot of puzzles to solve. I definitely got stuck at points, though I worked my way through most of it. Number 3 is that a yo-yo actually is rad, because instead of having multiple weapons like in Zelda, it is really your only weapon here, but you can do so much with it. You can use it like an actual yo-yo where you can fling at enemies and they'll come back to you. You can roll around on it to cross water. You can throw it at a distance and have it fling around the environment by bouncing off corners, which is one of my favorite things so far, is just how you can use the environment itself to attack enemies or solve puzzles, where if you look for any like 45-degree angles, you can launch the yo-yo into it, or yourself riding the yo-yo, and you or it will bounce around the level collecting or destroying anything in the process, including possibly yourself if you don't figure out your angles correctly. Number 4 is the awesome progression system, in which you can essentially level up your gameplay by choosing different upgrades or badges. Yes, we have badges, kind of like Paper Mario, in which you can find blueprints, you can have those made into the actual badge, and equip it for some kind of special ability or perk or something like that, including ones that let you do more damage at the expense of a slower yo-yo, or cutting in half the amount of coins you lose when you die, or something to that effect. And there's tons of others. I only found maybe 4 or 5 during my gameplay, and there looks to be 40, I think, in the full game. So I can't wait to see what all those do. On top of that, there is a upgrade system that comes in the form of a skill tree-like thing, in which you can permanently enhance some of your abilities without having to, use badge slots, for instance. And this is really cool too, because how this works is you basically take out a loan in order to have the upgrade available immediately. But the downside is that, number 1, there's some kind of penalty associated with it until you pay off the loan, like temporarily losing access to one of your heart containers, and I think another one may have been that enemies didn't drop health until you paid it off. Really smart stuff here, and on top of that is, it's a half penalty but also kind of a good thing, in that the way you pay this off is really unique, because instead of having to collect the funds and go back and pay for them, the person you pay off is apparently super germophobic, so they only want fresh coins from enemies you drop, meaning they instantly take half of what you earn to pay off the loan, which I think is actually pretty cool, because even when you're getting your butt kicked in combat and you lose coins as a result of dying, you're always earning something in the form of paying off the upgrade you've selected, because they're constantly taking that money from you as you earn it, even if it does mean a net loss for you in terms of your overall coinage. But I think it works really well. Smart system, I love it. Number 5 is that this is a huge world, in that it's a big metropolis, and there's so much to see and do and explore. I came across like a battle dojo type thing, or the first dungeon was in the form of a mall, kind of like Earthbound. And speaking of Earthbound even, there are taxi cabs you can pay off in order to have them take you as a quick travel around the map. It's super cool. And then on top of that, or I should say underneath all that, is an entire network of sewers in which you can use to get around as well, or get it past some barricades, or find, new things you need for your quest. Just really smart stuff here, and I really like how it all feels thematically cohesive. Like, again, I said how the first dungeon was in a giant mall, and they do all kinds of fun things with that to take advantage of that setting, including having a whole like arcade room with challenges, and I thought that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the setting. And that brings us to number 6, because almost everything in that city, or almost anywhere in this game, is interactive. You'll see all kinds of stuff and crap lying around, and you can interact with almost all of it by flinging your yo-yo at it. Sometimes it just bounces around, sometimes it causes items to disperse. In the arcade, you can actually see arcade machines glitching or doing other stuff when you hammer it with your yo-yo, and I love that. I love worlds that feel reactive, and almost everything here feels that to some degree. So great stuff here again, and it's just fun to throw your yo-yo around, which really adds to the impact and feel of the overall gameplay mechanics. Number 7 is the oddly relevant story, given the fact that you play as a member of the Pipistrello family, in which you are accompanied by your aunt, who becomes the yo-yo. I'm not gonna get into it, but there's some weird stuff going on here. But your aunt just happens to run a power company that has been taking advantage of the entire town for years, it sounds like, and everyone is in fear of this family. So you're joined by this character the entire time that doesn't seem to be necessarily a good person. I suspect there's more to the story that'll maybe change their world viewpoint, but then there's even terrorists involved here on being taxed on electricity. I'm like, oh my god, this game's about what we're experiencing right now. Really interesting stuff, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Finally, for our positives is number 8, which concerns all the cute touches throughout the game. From, again, the overall art style, to the idle animation, or even how the game even opens with that pocket trap game system on which it's supposedly played. But not just supposedly, because one of my favorite touches is how if you mess around with the visual options and basically zoom out the screen, you are actually playing on the handheld system itself. You can even see the buttons to press as you're pressing them on your own controller. On top of that, you can even rotate it around, in which the audio even becomes more hollow-like to give the feeling you're actually playing on a handheld device. I love it, it's fantastic, and there's even more fun touches like that throughout the game. Alright, so that's all the positives out of the way, and I can't stress enough how much fun I've had over my course of 5 hours of the game so far. But I do have 3 concerns with the game so far that aren't deal breakers by any stretch, but I hope the developer does reassess some of them, at least in my opinion. Number 1 is that there's some pretty steep difficulty spikes in this game, like steep like this, in that I was dying constantly, especially in some particularly difficult rooms in which I would die over and over. Now luckily you can retry it from that same room, though at the expense of a good amount of your cash, but I overall found those not to be too big of an issue because it made the rewards and the progression system I mentioned earlier feel all the more rewarding as you feel yourself power up and get stronger against these enemies. But there was one instance of the game that really frustrated me to no end, being the first boss. The very first real boss of this game kicked my butt over and over for literally 35 minutes. I was getting tired. I almost gave up against this guy. I finally got him, which, did feel good, but not 35 minutes worth of an investment to feel that good, And I think that there's just too much going on. Like, there was so much stuff flying around, and I couldn't quite figure out whether I was supposed to throw my yo-yo at a distance or attack him close up, and they kept throwing new attacks at me constantly. And also, one of my bigger complaints, kind of relevant, I didn't actually make it its own one, but one of my complaints about the specific battle is how I was accidentally picking up the heart pieces that were rewarded between stages of this fight, when I didn't even need them. And I wish it would make it where you didn't collect heart pieces until you actually needed them, or, the health up things. Because I was just wasting this fight by accidentally collecting them because I had to go to those areas, or I found it difficult to avoid them. So yeah, complaint number 1, especially with the first boss, really freaking difficult. I hope they reassess that, because I was just getting annoyed doing it over and over with no leniency at all. Like, it would be nice if the game gave me a tip, or made it easier, or had checkpoints throughout the fight, or again, made it so I didn't have to collect the hearts by accidentally running into them. Number 2, though, is that it's sometimes hard to tell whether an enemy is friendly or not, because most of the enemies in this game do have a distinct look, but occasionally some of them are also friendly as well. So I was never quite sure whether a new character I came across was friendly or not at first, but it'd be nice if they made that a little clearer or give them more of a distinct look to make it, clearer that those are friends rather than enemies, or vice versa. Finally, my 3rd and final complaint, again not a huge one, but there were a couple of instances where I found it confusing as where to go next. Now, it's entirely possible that I missed or forgot a key part of dialogue, but that ties into my complaint because as far as I could tell, there was no way to replay dialogue, and it would have been really nice if you could check in with the aunt whenever you wanted rather than only when she wants to talk to you. And then she could remind you of what you need to do. Because I was just confused for like probably a good hour or so just wandering around the city, and I was finding stuff and doing stuff, so I wasn't too annoyed, but I wasn't clear where I was supposed to go next. So it would definitely help having some kind of tip system in place, or having the aunt be able to give you a you know, heads up as to where you should be going next. But again, those three are pretty minor complaints in the grand scheme of things, because I am having a blast with this game so far, from how rewarding it is, to the classic style gameplay and art style, to all the cute touches and everything else I mentioned in the positive. It's a really fun game with a great gameplay loop of upgrading your abilities and powers and then deploying them on the enemies, and you can see immediately how that affects you. And I can't wait to see how much farther it goes in the full game, which again comes out on May 28th for Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox. So thank you everyone, that is my look at Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo, again coming out in only about 2 months from now, so definitely give it a look once it's out, because I can't recommend it enough at this point. So with that, thank you for watching, stay tuned for more from us on this game at some point, and that's it! So thanks for watching, click the subscribe button, and we'll catch you later. Bye everyone!